Hey everybody, it's Rob at Wicked Prepared, and today is our update number 2 for the garden for 2021. Today we're going to be doing some rototilling, breaking the ground for the expansion for the garden, and hopefully start moving the fence around to surround the entire garden. It is still quite a mess down here. I'm taking down some of the old trellis from last year, just sort of reorganizing, resituating everything. So I'll just give you a quick walk around here and see what we got going on. Like I said, it is kind of a mess. All this cardboard I put down last fall to try to kill the grass and the weeds that had come up through. But I did already make one pass through here with the rototiller. It's an old rototiller, older than me, but boy, it does work good. And it's exactly like the tiller that my grandmother used to use, so it's pretty cool to use something like what she used. But so like I said, I did make one pass already before I remembered that I needed to film this update. So and I tilled this area, which was part of the original garden, and we're going to be growing peas and cucumbers in this spot. It was mostly corn last year, so we're rotating stuff around, and this year we'll have that full of peas, and I gotta build some trellises for the peas and the cucumbers to climb up. So if you watched our garden update number 1 for this year, you know that I cleared out all the brush here. It was about a week ago now, and got all the brush out and leveled a bunch of sod that I had piled up from the original garden. So I got everything pretty much smoothed out, put any grass roots side up to try to kill it off. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to go through and rototill it all, and probably we'll have to rototill it a couple times and then rake any clumps of grass out of it. This is the old Troy-built horse, and it sure is a horse. It just keeps running. It's a nice machine. If you can find one of these that's in good shape, it runs pretty decent, definitely get your hands on it if you can, because they don't build them like this anymore, that's for sure. So what I found breaking the new ground with the rototiller is I like to set the depth stake on the rototiller about halfway. It drops it in about 6 inches, and it just gets the first 6 inches torn up, and then I'll go back over it with the depth stake all the way up, and it's about 12 inches down it'll till. But breaking it into 2 passes, do it all at one height and then drop it down and do it all at the final height, just kind of goes easier on the tiller, makes it easier on me. I think it does a lot better job. I've got the whole new part of the garden tilled with the depth stake about halfway down, so the tiller is only tilling down about 6 inches roughly. Now I'm going to go over the whole thing again with the depth stake all the way up. That way the tiller will go down in the ground as far as it can. It's about 12 inches on this one. Different models go down different amounts depending on how big they are. This will go down about 12 inches, and that'll be good. I may till it once more before I actually plant seeds in this garden. We'll see how it turns out. I got that new section all rototilled today. Came out pretty nicely. I'll probably go over it one more time when I take down that strip of fence. Let's see if I can point it out here. That fence runs right through the middle of the garden now, because it was the side of our original garden. So I'll take that fence down and put it around the new part. that'll go right there. So also today, can't see it real well from this direction, but I built this trellis right there that will have peas on it. I'm going to build at least one more, maybe two more just like it. What you can't see from right here is between those two gray poles is netting. It's actually poultry netting, but I had it kicking around from a different project, so I strung that between the two poles, kept it pretty tight, and that'll be what our peas grow up. And like I said, there'll be at least one more next to it, probably two more. I still got to do some measuring. So that was today's progress. See, it's still pretty messy. I will clean up that cardboard here one of these days. Alright, so it's the following day now. A little less sunny and a little more chilly today, but it was supposed to rain and no rain so far, so I'm going to take advantage of it and hopefully get some more done out here in the garden. I thought I'd start with showing you a little more about these trellises I built. To be honest with you, this is the first time I'm building a trellis this way, and I haven't seen anybody else build one quite like this. So I'm not 100% sure how it's going to work, but I think it'll work well enough to at least get started. If it seems too flimsy, I can always strengthen it up after. But basically what I'm doing is I had a few of these fence posts laying around. They're not the real heavy duty ones. They're not a T-post, but it's just a regular fence post. I drove these into the ground. They're about 4 feet tall out of the ground. And then I've got 10-foot lengths of PVC electrical conduit. I've always got this stuff laying around, and I don't use it for conduit at all. Mostly I use it for our Halloween and Christmas light displays, and I use it for little projects here and there. Definitely not what it's intended for. So I had a bunch of it laying around. It's relatively cheap, and it is 10 feet long. It's kind of flimsy, as you can see, but what I did was I drove the conduit in right next to this U-shaped fence post, and I drove it about 2 feet into the ground, and like I said, it's right next to the fence post. Then I just zip tied it to the fence post, and at least made it pretty rigid up until the top of the post. And you can see probably the top is going to bend in a little with the tension of the poultry netting that I've got on here. That's what the peas will actually climb up. If it looks like, as this gets warm and cold and is exposed to more heat as the season goes on, if this looks like it's pulling in too far, then I can just hook some pieces of wood to the outside and strengthen that up. But the least amount of materials I have to use, the better. I try to do things as cheap as I can. So the least amount of trips to the hardware store that we have to make, the better. Just to give you a little bit better idea, this is, now that I drove that piece of conduit into the ground right alongside the fence post, then I zip tied it to the post, and what I did is kept the metal fence post on the inside of the PVC, so you can see that's where the peas will be planted, and the poultry netting will be right in there. That's the other metal fence post in, and then the PVC pipe will go on the other side of that fence post. That's the end of today's progress. I'm not sure how good it shows up there, but I'll try to point it out to you. That's where the fence was. This was our original garden here. So I pulled that fence up, extended the fence around here and back here. Of course, I had already tilled that yesterday. And then I do have those 2 trellises up, and I actually already planted peas this afternoon. And I do have one more trellis I'm going to build I still need to do some measuring to make sure that that's all I have room for, but there should be at least room for one more trellis planted full of peas. And then I do need to build a couple structures to hold the cucumbers right next to those. So it'll go 1, 2, 3 trellises for peas, and then 1, 2 probably for cucumbers, and then this whole corner is going to be corn, and this front corner will probably end up being pumpkins and melons and tomatoes and peppers up in here, and then mostly the brassicas right in the center. So that's the plan anyway. We'll see how it goes. All that's left to do now that I have the fence around the entire garden, now I am going to go ahead and till. I'll go ahead and till the rest of this. That still has cardboard on it to try to kill the grass, but I'll till right through all that, and then the entire garden will be ready for planting. Well, it was a longer process than I was expecting it to be, but that's usually how things go for me. I guess maybe because I'm too much of a perfectionist and like things to be just right, but as you can see behind me there, I did get the entire garden rototilled finally. I got all the cardboard picked up that was in the middle and just stacked it over there on the side so it wouldn't blow away, but I did leave the cardboard around the outside edges on most of the garden. I'm going to try to leave the cardboard there as long as it'll stay together. To try to keep, I need to keep a pathway around the outside edge of the garden. And I'm hoping the grass will stay dead underneath the cardboard, and the cardboard will just kind of decompose and eventually go into the dirt. But with any luck at all, hopefully for a while, it'll keep the grass calm down and keep it from spreading into the vegetables. So anyhow, it's all rototilled, it's all fenced in, and that will be our garden for 2021. Next step will be planting. Like I said, there are peas already planted, but they haven't come up just yet. But pretty soon, that whole garden will be planted. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you click the bell to get all of our updates on new videos. We'd hate for you to miss out on one. We'll have plenty more updates from the garden, all kinds of new videos on prepping and gardening and cooking, all kinds of stuff. So stay tuned. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and definitely hit subscribe and click that little bell to get the notifications. Once again, I'm Rob with Wicked Prepared. Survive today, thrive tomorrow. We'll see you, and thanks for watching. With the depth stake, the depth stake. The depth. We got the whole new part of the garden tilled with the depth stake about halfway down.